He never sought gratitude, never anticipated any reward. Jack Thompson, a rugged truck driver with weary eyes and a gentle soul, spotted an elderly man discreetly declining his meal. To save a few dollars, no one else noticed, but Jack did. He settled the bill and slipped away before the man could utter a word. A month later, a sparkling truck appeared outside that same diner, accompanied by a note that would alter everything. Hit like and share where you're tuning in from. Your support fuels more heartfelt stories. Now, let's dive in. Rain began to drizzle as Jack Thompson maneuvered his truck into the gravel lot outside Rose's diner. It was his routine stop. Same window booth, same dark coffee, same quiet. At 56, Jack had embraced solitude. He preferred it that way. The road was tough, but reliable. No ties, no complications. Just endless highways in a cab that felt more like home than any house ever did. Inside, the aroma of bacon and stale coffee lingered. The bell above the door chimed as Jack entered, nodding courteously to the waitress at the counter. Her name tag read Leela, and she offered a smile born of familiarity, not warmth. He settled into a booth silently, gazing through the rain-streaked window. That's when he saw the elderly man at the counter. Hunched shoulders, shaky hands, and a faded veteran's cap tilted low over a tired, lined face. The man had ordered a sandwich and coffee, but when the bill arrived, Jack noticed him counting coins slowly, meticulously, then gently pushing the sandwich back toward the waitress with a polite nod. That quiet act struck Jack deeply. He stood, leaving his meal unfinished, and approached the register. Leela glanced up. "Cover his tab with mine," he whispered, just audible. "Don't tell him." Leela's brows raised, then softened. "You sure?" Jack nodded slightly. He looked famished. "That's enough." Before she could respond, he dropped a 20, tipped his cap, and stepped into the gentle rain. No grand speech, no lingering moment, just a man who acted kindly, because someone needed it, and no one else would. Inside, the old man didn't even look up. He reached for his sandwich again as Leela slid it back, smiling without a word. Outside, Jack climbed into his cab, cleared the fog from the windshield, and drove into the afternoon's gray haze. By the time the wipers cleared his view, the diner had vanished in the rear view, just like the moment he left behind. Yet kindness, once sown, takes root in unexpected places. The weeks that followed blurred with long roads and solitary rest. Stops. Jack Thompson kept moving, as always, from Houston to Des Moines, Chicago to Casper. He hauled loads with quiet focus, an old cassette deck playing soft country tunes in the background. His CB radio stayed mostly quiet. So did he. The memory of the old man at Rose's diner didn't weigh on him, but it lingered gently, steadily. Not for what Jack had done, but for the look in the man's eyes, dignity cloaked in weariness, pride worn thin. Jack had seen that look before, in rest-stop mirrors, in the rear view after a long day, and years ago, in his father's eyes after the plant closed or still. Life pressed on. It had to. The morning sun was just breaking when Jack returned to that stretch of highway where Rose's diner stood like a weathered snapshot from another era. He hadn't planned to stop, but something drew him back. Maybe the scent of fresh bacon, or perhaps the memory of being noticed in a world that rarely looked up. He parked his truck, stepped into the cool morning air, and crossed the lot. That's when he saw it. Across the street, on a flatbed trailer parked neatly parallel to the diner, sat a gleaming navy blue Kenworth T680. Brand new, pristine. Sunlight sparkled off its polished chrome and flawless windows. It was the kind of rig drivers only dreamed of. No logos, no markings. Just keys on the hood and a folded note taped to the side mirror. Jack's boots slowed on the gravel as he approached. He glanced around, half expecting a prank or cameras, but the road was empty, the diner quiet. The truck real. His pulse quickened as he reached for the note. His weathered fingers trembled slightly as he unfolded it. 3 words were scrawled, boldly at the top, for Jack Thompson. Nothing more, not yet. Jack glanced back at the diner. Stunned, Leela stood inside, frozen behind the counter, eyes wide. She'd seen the truck too, and now she stared at him like a storybook had come to life. Jack blinked hard, his heart pounding. Who would do this? Why? He turned the note over. What he read next stopped him cold. Jack's hand shook as he unfolded the note fully. The handwriting was steady, deliberate, each word heavy with meaning. Dear Mr. Thompson, you aided a stranger that day. That stranger was my father. He told me, tears in his eyes, that someone truly saw him for the first time in years. You didn't ask his name. You didn't wait for gratitude. A week later, he passed away peacefully. But he left this world with dignity because of you. My name is Ethan Brooks. My father was Samuel Brooks, founder of Brooks Haulage. I don't know what moved you to act that day, but I know what it meant to him. Please accept this truck not as charity, but as a tribute to a man who valued decency, and to the stranger who gave it freely. The title is yours. Keys are yours. No strings. Thank you for what you did when no one saw. Ethan Brooks. Jack stood still, the breeze brushing his flannel shirt. The world seemed to hush around him. The note crinkled in his hand, but its weight sank deeper than paper. Samuel Brooks. Jack remembered him vividly now. The way he'd tried to return that sandwich as if asking for too much. A man who wore his pride like a badge, even when everything else had faded. A veteran, a father, a man holding on. Now gone. Jack's jaw tightened. Not from grief, he barely knew him, but from something deeper. A mix of sorrow and awe. A small act had rippled outward, returning not just in kind, but in grace. Behind him, the diner's bell chimed softly. Leela stepped out, apron still tied, eyes glistening. You okay? She asked gently, her voice trembling with emotion. Jack looked at her, the note still open in his hand. No, he said, voice thick with feeling, but I think I will be. He turned to the truck. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was a monument, a thank you carved in chrome and steel. A man's final message through his son. For the first time in years, Jack felt seen to. He stepped forward, ran his hand along the cool metal of the rig, then pressed his palm against the door, his head resting gently against it. The breeze carried only silence. He didn't speak. He stood quietly, letting tears fall. The keys felt light in his hand, but they carried the weight of a life. Jack sat in the cab of the brand-new Kenworth, fingers tracing the leather wrapped steering wheel. The scent of fresh upholstery, pure and untouched, filled the air. Every button shone, every surface flawless. No miles, no history, just a fresh start waiting to be written. For a man who'd driven half his life in worn-out rigs and patched seats, this felt surreal. He turned the key halfway, just to hear it. The dashboard lit up in a quiet symphony, humming to life. The engine stayed off, but that hum filled the silence with something sacred. Jack leaned back, staring through the windshield, hands in his lap, heart still racing. He wasn't a man who cried easily. He'd endured breakups, breakdowns, snowbound highways, and the loneliness only truckers know. But this was different. It wasn't about the truck. It was about being remembered, about being part of something that outlasted a single moment. Footsteps crunched on the gravel. Leela approached slowly, wiping her hands on her apron. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. Ethan called the diner this morning, asked if you still stopped here. I didn't know what he meant until the flatbed arrived. Jack looked at her, still overwhelmed. You spoke to him. She nodded briefly, said he searched for you for weeks, traced your CB handle through a mechanic in Nebraska, said his father never stopped talking about you. Jack swallowed hard. I didn't even know his name. Doesn't matter, Leela said gently. You gave him something bigger than a name. Jack looked out the window at the morning sun cresting the horizon. After a moment, he turned back to her. Feels like I should do something. Right back. Say something. You just did. She smiled. You showed up. Jack reached for the note, folded it with care, and tucked it into the glove compartment. Then he ran a hand across the dash, fingers settling on the ignition. He had roads to drive, but this time, he wasn't just moving forward. He was carrying someone with him. 3 weeks later, a sleek Navy Kenworth pulled into a rural truck stop off I-90. Its engine purred softly as it stopped beside the pumps. Drivers turned. Conversations paused. The rig was pristine, chrome gleaming. Tires spotless, like they'd been dipped in ink. But it wasn't the truck that caught eyes. It was the man behind the wheel. Jack Thompson stepped down slowly, adjusting his worn cap, still in the same flannel shirt he'd worn for years. His boots hit the pavement with quiet confidence. Something had shifted in him, not pride, not ego, but something quieter, a man at peace with his place in the world. He walked toward the fuel station, unhurried, nodding at a young driver staring. Openly, the kid glanced at the rig, then at Jack. "That yours?" he asked, eyes wide. Jack gave a small nod. "Yeah, she's a beauty," the kid said. Jack smiled faintly. "She is." Inside the diner, at the stop, Lila's words echoed in his mind. "You gave him something bigger than a name." He thought of Samuel Brooks, the quiet man at the counter. A sandwich returned. A debt no one asked to repay. Jack slid into a booth and pulled a small notebook from his pocket. For the first time in years, he began to write not a log, not a receipt, but a letter. "Dear Ethan, I don't have the words to express what this means, but I hope you know I'd do it again. Your father reminded me of my own quiet, proud, alone in ways no one should be. Thank you for letting me carry his memory down the road. I'll care for this rig. I'll care for his story too. Jack Thompson." He tore the page neatly, folded it, and tucked it into an envelope addressed to Brooks Haulage. "Attention Ethan Brooks." The next morning, it was mailed. Weeks later, a reply arrived. "Jack, I read your letter 3 times. You're not driving alone anymore. You'll always have a place with us, Ethan." Jack placed the letter on the dash of his rig, beside a photo of his father he hadn't looked at in years. The road stretched ahead, endless as ever, but now he drove with purpose, because sometimes a stranger's gratitude becomes the most meaningful mile you ever travel.